Assalamu alaikum. This is C programming, lecture number 2. The previous lecture, lecture number 1, it was an introduction about the C programming and programming in general. And in that lecture, we talked about the language, what type of programming language available. We said that we have three levels of languages. The first one, it is the machine language, which is binary code 010101. Second one, it is the assembly language. And third level, it is the higher level language. And C is one of the higher level languages. And we talked about the importance of C programming or learning programming using C language because it is the most famous or mostly used in universities and colleges and also in embedded system and industry. And as a mechanical engineers or engineer should have a programming skill. This is why we are teaching C programming. So today lecture it will talk about the basics of programming, how to open the compiler, how to write some simple code, what are the data types, what are the variables, and how we can use some libraries like stdio.h library where we have some built-in functions can be used to read data from keyboard to output data to display and so on. Now at the beginning, as you see to the left of the display, we are using the child interpreter or say that compiler. This compiler or interpreter, it is used to program or write script or programs in C or C++. Actually, as a student, you can download the child from the software from the website, or you can use the online browser. Look to the right of the display. I will show you how to use the online compiler. Just write C compiler. C compiler. You can use any one of them like this one. So we can use any compiler, write a code and so on. But I will use the child for the first lecture. Once you open the child compiler or interpreter, the user interface is very simple like you see here. We have file, pull down menu, have edit, search, view, tool, debug options, language, buffer, help. File to open new file, to open old file and so on. Here we have some tools also that like a print, like open like new file, like search, and here we have run and next step, start and so on. Now at the beginning we should write hash include it. Remember that C programming it's a standard language. Hash include. So again hash include. This is a standard or formal way. At the beginning we have to include the library called stdio.h. This library containing the definitions of the built-in functions to read data, to output data. As example, if you want to use some math built-in functions, you have to include the math.h. So we can use it if we have an equation using the log, using the square root, the sine, cosine, built-in functions. So you can include it before starting the program. So write math.h as example. At the beginning, let me tell you something. In your program, you should have a one center or one main block in your program. This main block called main. So we have to write void main brackets as a function, enter curly brace to start the main, curly brace to end the main. This is the formal way. Now regarding the main, it's the main thing in your program and it should be at the beginning like this. Can I write some code before? Yes, it's okay. That means this code, it's outside the main, can be used in the main or after this line, anywhere. Now regarding the main itself, we should have just one main and it should be written like this, MAIN, small letter. Void, it will represent the data that main, after executing this code, run the code, it should return a data. If written here void, that means the main, it will not return any data. Void means nothing to be returned. Can I return an integer? Yes. If it is integer, write int instead of void. Here write int to say that it's integer. If you wanted to return a float, write a float like this. If you wanted to return character, write character like this. Anyway, for now, because we don't have more than main block or one block, so the main block will not interact with other blocks. It will not take parameters from outside, and it will not return values to other block or in general. So make it void. Main brackets. These brackets, like any function, we have to write these brackets, and in these brackets there is nothing. So these are empty brackets, represent that or show that the main program in this program, or main block in this program, it will not accept any parameters from outside. So there are no any parameters passed to the main. So the main will work individually. Now inside the main, as example, if I want to ask user to enter his name, in general, we have to declare a variable by giving the variable its name, any name, and determine what type of data that we can save in this variable, like integer if they are numerical numbers without fractions, like 1, 2, -1, 3, and so on. Also we have a float if you have fractions, like 1.5, 1.53, -1.53, and so on. If it's a one character, we can use char to say that this variable should be containing character. And if the variable will hold more than one character, as a name, Rami, Ahmad, Shahid, anything, it should be more than one character. It should be a string by writing char and determine the size. I will show you example now. So I'm talking now about two things, the data types and variables. So for each variable, you have to indicate which data type that this variable accept. As example, let me go to the whiteboard and show you. As example, if I want to declare a variable as integer, we have to write integer as example x, and the value, then semicolon. By the way, semicolon here to end the line of instruction. Now what will happen in memory? As you see, x equal to 1 integer. In memory, if I just to show the idea, let me show the idea of what's happening in memory. Say that in memory we have a variable like this, a space for variable. The name, it is x. The address in hexadecimal number, say that 128 as example. And the current value will be 0, because we wrote here x equal to 1. The initial value or current value will be 1 like this, and 1 without dot, without fractions, because this is an integer. Say that I will also write as example, I will write that float y, float, okay, the data variable name is y, type is float, float, y equal 2.5 as this, that's in here. So what will happen in memory? In memory, the compiler will go to memory, reserve a space for a variable. The variable name will be y, and its current value will be 2.500, okay, as a float. And say that the address is 21A as example in hexadecimal numbers. So as you see, we have here two data types here. The first one called integer. As you see, data type is integer, int. The name of the variable is x, and the current value is 1. By writing integer x, we are declaring a variable. By writing x equal to 1, we are defining its value. Same thing here, float y equal to 2.5. Data type here is a float, so I'm declaring a variable name is y. Data type is a float, and the current value equal 2.5, and so on. Now we talked about two data types. The first one is the integer. So I'm talking about integers. For integers, we are using the format string percentage percentage d in scan and reading or scanning the value taken from the keyboard, or percentage also d in print. Now, what is the integer itself? The integer itself, it's data type, and this data type example, if I want to save numbers like 1, 2, -1, -100, 1000, and so on, and so on. So all of these numbers, that fractions, are integers. Now, how much it needs in the memory location, or sorry, memory space? For integer, we need 4 bytes. So integer mainly 4 bytes. 4 bytes. Okay. Now, do we have a shorter form? Yes, we have short integer where the size will be 2 bytes. Do we have longer form? Yes, long integer where the size will be 8 bytes. You know that 8 bytes equivalent to 64 bits. 64 bits. Do we have longer than 8? Yes, long integer. So we have integer, short integer, long integer, long integer. Same for the floats, guys. Same for the floats. Again, for the float, same story. We have a float, but the minimum size is the float, okay, which is 4 bytes or 32 bits. We have also double, the double type. Double, it's a float, but with 8 bytes or 64 bits. 64 bits. Do we have more than 8? Yes, long double, which is more than 8 bytes or 64 bits. Now we talked about the integers and floats. Do we have a data type called character? Yes. The character, we are using the keyword char or car, and give it a name, as example z, okay, and then equal to the value. Say the value is c as a character. For characters, we have to use these upper quotation, single quotation, okay? Now, again, semicolon at the end of the line to end the line. Now here we have the data type is character. That means we can use the z. The z is the variable name. The type is character. We have z can contain 1 character only. And when we write z equal to c like this, don't forget this quotation, single quotation, and this single quotation to indicate that this is a character, not a variable name. So in this case, what will happen in memory? It will go to memory like this. It will reserve a space in memory. This space name is z, and there will be an address for this name, for this space in memory. Say that 2011A as example, okay, and the current value will be a character called c, like this. Now, in general, how much the data size we need to hold a character? We need just 1 byte. So the data type here, character, it needs just 1 byte or 8 bits or 8 bits. What character data type can we use? We have all from A capital to Z capital. These are characters from A small to Z small characters, and we have from 0 to 9 can be used as a character, and we have another special characters. As example, if I want to choose 0 as a character, we can write it between 2 single quotations like this, or 1 like this, it will be a character, and so on. The last data type called string. String, when we want to hold more than 1 character. How we write the string? By the way, string, it contains more than character. So we can write character as a keyword, char, and give the string as a name as st as example, and its size, say that 10. Okay, this is how we can declare it. Now let me write a full line of instruction. Let me go back again, write character character. Okay, the name is st, the size equal 5 as example. Okay, and then I want to write double quotation like this. We can write A, B, C, D only like this. 4, not 5. Okay, as you see here, the data type is character. Sorry, string, not character, but we are using char because it's more than one character, so we have to indicate the size, which is 5. Now, why it's 4, maximum number of characters that we can hold in this st, this variable 4, because the last one, if they are all characters, the last one should be reserved for //0 to go to next line, reserved for /0 to go to next line. So if we have a size of 5, that means 4 characters that can be held. Now what will happen in memory? In memory, it will go to memory and reserve 5 adjacent spaces, 5 adjacent spaces in memory like this. Say that we have these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like this. All of this, the name is st, and there is some address for each one. And at the beginning here we have a character called A, and then we have V, and then we have C, and then we have D, and last one reserved for \0 or /0 to end the line, to end the string. By the way, the address for this array or this character is the first variable address, and the others are following the first one. This is how we can declare the string. Now in the example I want to ask user to enter his name, followed by, as example, his gender, and then followed by his ID, and then followed by his grade, and I want to print them again to show the values. So at the beginning we have 4 variables. The first variable, it's the name. For the name we can say character, the name say nm or name, it's okay, it's just a name. Okay, the size say 20. Okay, I don't know the values, later I will ask you to enter them. We need also the gender as a character, say gender without space, because just one character like this. I don't know the value, I will ask user to enter the value. Next I will ask him to enter the ID, so integer. I will declare the integer as the ID as integer, so the name is ID like this. And finally I will ask him about his grade, number grade, so I expect it as a float, so float a grade like this. Then we have to show a message to ask user, please enter your name. So we have a built-in function called printf. This function used to print a message, and this message should be between 2 double quotation. Anything between 2 double quotation, it's a string or a message. So what this message, please, as example, please enter your name, and I want to go to next line later to make the message clear, so \n like this. Outside the quotation we have to write semicolon. By the way, we should not write semicolon after the main here. It's wrong. Why? Because when you're writing semicolon after the main, that means you are splitting the main from its body, and this is not correct because all of these belong to the main. So don't write after the main semicolon, but for each line inside the main, yes, we have to end it by a semicolon. So let me remove the space. Then we expect that the user will read the message and enter the name and press enter. So we want to read the values entered by user. We have a built-in function called scanf. By the way, scanf should not be a capital, it should be a formal way to write scanf by a small letter, because the C language, it is case sensitive. So again, scanf, it's a function, we have to open brackets, and again we want to scan a message. This message should be between 2 double quotation. What type of data I want to read? I want to read the name. For the name, it is a string. For string, we are using the format string %s. %s for string, %s For integer we have, again, for string, let me go to whiteboard here. I will show you. For integers we are using percentage %d. For floats we are using %f, and for character %c, and for string %s. Okay, now we have also for long integer %ld, for double %lf, for long double %llf, and so on. So these format string can be used using scan in the scan and in the printf functions to indicate that the data type you are reading or scanning or printing, it is float or integer or character or string. So %s. Now again, go back to the compiler. Outside the quotation we have to write comma, and where we want to save the data entered by user, and the scanf will read it and then send it to that location. It will send it to the name. For the name, no need to write it like this, by the way, in capital, because I told you it's case sensitive. And then like this. No, should not do that. Just the name. And in general, in the scan, we have to use and for character, for integer, and for floats, but doesn't matter for the string. But it's okay, keep it like this, no problem. And name, that means go to and used here to indicate the address of that variable. So take the value, string value from the keyboard, and then send it to that address, the name, then semicolon like this. Now after finishing read, we want to print again the message. Let me again copy this message, the printf function again. I want to print a message. What this message is, we can say that your name is followed by a string. So how we can reserve a space for a string? By using %s like this. From where, outside the quotation, from where I will get this value? From the variable name called name, like this. Now let me run the program. Remember that %n to go to next line. Let me run the program to show you. Run the program. At the beginning we have to save the program as .c. I'm waiting. Okay. And then we have to write as example number 1 .c, because this language is C language, and you should select the location, say that C or anywhere, or D. Now as you see here at the bottom of the script or the program, we have an area show us the output. As you see, ch-u exercise number 1.c, please enter your name. My name is, as example, Ahmed. Okay, your name is Ahmed, as it is. Okay, now guys, let me click here and press Ctrl A to select everything, and then press delete to delete the area, and you can zoom like this or move it or maximize that area. Now I want to again, I want to copy all of these, Ctrl C, then I will skip one space, Ctrl V. I want to ask user to enter his gender. So please enter your gender. Okay, gender capital or small letter, doesn't matter, it's a message. But here when you look to the or want to use the variable, you should write its name as declared here, but this is just a message. Okay, so please enter your gender. Go to next line. I will scan the gender as a character. If it's a character, I want to read a character after something else like string or integer or float, it's better to keep one space before, like this. Okay, don't forget that. And then I want to take the value. I want to read a character from the keyboard entry, and then I will go to address of the variable name here is gender, as you see here, small letter. So I will write gender, and the user should respond by typing one character. So it's good to tell him that M or F, M for male, F for female, and so on. Now the user will read the message, then he will enter the character M or F in keyboard. The compiler will read this entry and then go to the address of gender and save it. Then I will print it again. Your gender is %C. I want to reserve a space for a character, so I will use %C. From where I will get outside the quotation comma, from where I will get this value from the variable name is gender. Let me run the program again. Now I don't want to repeat this code again, so what I'm doing, I will write slash star, and last thing here star slash, to make it as a comment. It will become a comment. As you see, it's in a green. That means it's not a command or not lines of commands. It's just a comment, and the compiler will skip it while combining the file. Now let me run the program again. As you see, please enter your gender, M or F. Say that this is M, enter. So your gender is M. As you see, between the M and your gender is M, we don't have a line. It's not skipped a line to print the message. So why this happened? Let me repeat again, run the program again. This is M, okay. To solve this problem, we can print before your gender, print \n again to skip a line. Run the program again. This is M. I'm sorry, we should write M here. This is M, and as you see the result, your gender is M. Okay, now again I will make this as a comment, as you see, and then I will paste the code again, Ctrl V again. Now I want to ask user to enter his ID number, so please enter your ID small or capital, doesn't matter, just a message, ID number. Okay, I want to scan this ID number as integer because ID it's an integer, so I will use %D for integer. Outside the quotation, I want to save it and go to the address of ID capital. Why? Because the variable name is ID. Then I will print the value. I will write printf your ID number is, and then reserve a space for a number which is integer. Outside quotation, from where I will get this number, from the variable called ID. So what will happen, guys, when it will print this message? It will print your ID number is, then followed by a number or a value. From where we get this value? From the variable, the current value inside this variable ID. And last thing again, we have to copy paste the last code we want to ask user, please enter your grade, and then we will read the grade as a float number, 99, 99.5, and so on, and give this value or save it inside the grade variable. We have to go back and see the grade variable. It is G small, and here G capital. We should use it as in declaration, G small. Your grade is, we have to reserve a space for a float number, from where I will get the float number from the variable name grade. And let me test both of them together. Run the program. As you see, please enter your ID number. This is the ID number. Your ID number is, please enter your grade. This is my grade. Your grade is. Now let me do repeat the code again. I will write it now in one, print and scanf. So what I will do now, please enter your name. I will take your grade, M or F, undo like this, and then cut, and then right here in this message, please enter your name, Ctrl V, your grade, comma. We need also gender. We can write here gender, and finally and grade. So we have gender, ID number, like this. Let me maximize it. Okay. So please enter your name, comma, your gender, M or F. We can put brackets like this to make the message more clear. ID number and grade. And then remove this message from here and remove the printf function here and remove this one. Now we want to scan the first one, its name, scanning a string, followed by one character, Control C, which is gender, followed by the integer, so percentage D, followed by percentage F. Don't keep a one space after or backslash in like this. This is wrong in the scan. Okay, we can keep just one space between them. Okay, but not before, not after. Before, if it's one character only, after something else, we can use it. Now the first is string will be saved in name, comma. The second one will be saved. It's a character for gender, saved in gender variable name, and third one will be saved in ID variable name, and fourth one is the grade will be saved inside the grade variable. So we have to delete this scan and delete this scan and delete this scan, and finally you want to print them in one message or keep it print like this, up to you, but let me print them in one message. So your name is name like this, followed by next line, your grade is, go to next line like this. So let me cut this one, Control V here. I want to keep one space before, your ID is, same story, your ID is percentage backslash n to go to next line, Control V like this, and keep one space, and finally this one, put it here, Control V like this. And now we want to delete all of these and remove the spaces. We don't like spaces, to keep space like this. Now the first string will be taken from the name. The second one is a character, will be taken from the gender variable, and third one it is integer, which is the ID, taken from the ID variable value, and finally it's a float, which is the grade. I will go to the grade and take its value like this. Let me run the program now. We have a mistake. Argument number 3 of the function is undefined or not valid expression. Let me delete, Control A, delete everything and run again. I will show you how we can deal with errors. Now argument number 3, double click on this red line. It will tell you that there is something wrong here. See, argument number 3, this is number 1, number 2, number 3, gender. It should be gender like this. Control A, delete. Run the program again. It's okay. Please enter your name, your gender, male or female, ID number, and the grade. So my name, this is my name as example. Enter. This is M. Enter the number, ID, this ID, and finally the grade is, this is the grade. So your name is, your gender is, your ID is, your grade is. Now guys, I will tell you how you can deal with the errors. So let me do some mistakes. I will make some mistakes, like as example, I will remove this bracket. I will make the main as M capital. I will remove this one. I will go to here. I will remove this one as example, and so on. Now run the program. Oh, we have many mistakes. Oof. So guys, my advice, go up to the first one, double click on the line, read missing a bracket here. Before this one, missing, yes, here missing a bracket. Very good. So again, Control A, delete, run the program, double click on the red line, go to that line and read what is the mistake. Maybe missing semicolon here. Before, yes, semicolon. Then again, Control A, delete, run the program. Argument number 5 of scanf is not a pointer here. Argument number 5. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not a pointer. Pointer means it should. We have to write address here. And okay, Control A, delete, run the program again. We don't have any mistake yet. Run the program. Nothing happened. Why? That means there is no program. That means the main, there is something in the main. Go to the main. Oh, it's M capital. Should be M small like this. Run the program. Now it's okay. We can stop. Now, as you see, we learned today how we can open the child, how we can run the program, how we can write the code. We have to write hash includes stdio.h. If you have a math equation, you have to include, and you want to use the built-in function, math function, you have to include the math.h. You should have start one main only in your program. Write one main only. To declare a variable, you have to put data type and its name and its size if it's more than one value, and so on. And you have to use the correct format string in scan and in print. For strings, S, %S, for characters, %C, for integers, %D, and for floats, %F. And we learned together how we can use the printf function and scanf function. This is just introduction about C programming. Thank you so much. See you again.